Random House Audio presents Doing What Matters. How to get results that make a difference. The revolutionary old-fashioned approach. By James M. Kilts. With John F. Manfredi and Robert L. Lorber. Read for you by L.J. Ganser. Years ago, I started learning the importance of doing what matters when my mother called me to the phone saying, "It's the foreman at the plant. There are no more cartons. They're shutting down the line. I think you're going to get fired." At the time, I held an entry-level position at the General Foods Kool-Aid plant in Chicago to put myself through the graduate business school at the University of Chicago. I was responsible for ordering supplies and simply forgot to order cartons for one of the beverage lines. I called the salesman from the box company at home that evening and pleaded with him for cartons. That same night, I helped load a truck, brought the cartons to the plant, and, fortunately, kept my job. That simple lesson about doing what matters, what you must do to be successful in business, and, as important, the things you should ignore, has been central for me as I eventually moved from plant assistant to CEO. Whether ordering cartons for the production line or managing big businesses, as I have for the past 20 years, the simplicity of the doing what matters approach works. That was certainly the case when, as the CEO of Kraft Foods, I was in charge of a $25 billion-plus company that had operations all around the world. The same was true at Nabisco, whose brands were global icons: Oreo, Ritz, Chips Ahoy, Planters Nuts, Lifesavers Confections, and many others. And most recently, 2001 through 2005, the Doing What Matters approach was put to the test as I headed one of the best-known and most profitable consumer product companies in the world, the Gillette Company. But while I have a lot of business experience, the idea for doing what matters didn't start to gel until I spent the time between leaving Kraft and joining Nabisco as a visiting lecturer and executive in residence at my alma mater, the University of Chicago's Graduate School of Business. Working with the students was a thrill, both in the classroom and in informal get-togethers. They are among the best and the brightest, and they absorb vast amounts of management theory, principles, and applications. However, a recurring question throughout the year was, what happens when school is out and I enter the real world of business? With so many options and so much data available to me, how do I, as a manager, decide and do what really matters? That's when I started to think that while knowing a lot is great, knowing how to use that knowledge is what matters in business. Maybe I could help translate knowledge into the basis for useful action. Perhaps my work experience could link the school learning, the principles and theories about business, with the old-fashioned, tried-and-true practical applications of what really matters in business. Over the next 8 years, my mind and energy shifted from the halls of academia to the more white-knuckled experiences of helping to lead Nabisco and Gillette out of serious business nosedives that threatened their very existence. However, during those years, the question of deciding on, and then doing, what matters was an ongoing consideration for me. For example, the seemingly contradictory subtitle for this audiobook, How to Get Results That Make a Difference, the revolutionary old-fashioned approach, came from those experiences. Old school means the fundamentals, and the importance of always having them front and center. Are the cartons ordered? If not, then the line shuts down. But the fundamentals alone aren't enough, unless they're applied to the warp-speed environment you operate in today. Let's say that you've inherited a sales force that's gone through a $50 million reorganization, but is still on a trajectory to crash and burn, as was the case at Nabisco. You must take radical action quickly before the moment of impact. You not only have to sort out what you should pay attention to and what you should ignore, you must do so with revolutionary speed and decisiveness. Yet, even with disaster staring them in the face, people from the lowest to highest levels in many organizations often prefer to rearrange the deck chairs. They'll give lip service to stepping up performance, but in practice, go about business as usual. That was certainly the case at Gillette. Its position as the #1 maker of blades and razors was virtually unchallenged in all regions of the world. Its manufacturing capabilities were unparalleled, and its engineering, research, and new product development were unmatched within all consumer products. Not only had Gillette invented the safety razor and the double-edged blade, it had also commercialized every major advance in wet shaving for over 100 years. And in recent years, the Gillette development machine seemed to be working better than ever. The Mach 3 shaving system that was introduced in 1998 was a runaway success that generated more than $2.5 billion in sales during its first 3 years, a premium-priced, exceptionally high-profit product that men all around the world loved. So, what was the problem? Start with net sales, net profit, and net earnings stalled at zero growth, with Wall Street and the Gillette board of directors convinced that the worst was yet to come. Yet, in 2001, as the new Gillette CEO, the first outsider to run the company in more than 70 years, I was told by Gillette's Vice President of Human Resources that 65% of the managers had received performance ratings of exceeds expectations, or outstanding. And Gillette was not just in a tailspin, it was caught deep in a circle of doom. My job was to turn things around, and do it without having the luxury of time. Yes, we had to preserve what was important, world-class brands of the highest quality, great traditions of unmatched innovation and technology, integrity, and respect for people. But I also was there to lead the revolution by using the past as a starting point. Old-school approaches would be built upon, adapted, and at times totally transformed and overturned, so Gillette would return to its glory days, and its managers would be among the most prized in business. Let's take the performance measurement system as an example of what had to be done. Like many companies, Gillette used the 5-grade system of does not meet expectations, needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, and outstanding. Perversely, the worse a company does, the more likely it is that more people will be graded higher. Managers don't want to demotivate people in bad times, so they move them up the scale. That's why 2/3 of Gillette's managers were at the top of the performance scale, despite the company's ongoing decline in performance. Over time, the system has little meaning and actually hurts performance. Doing what matters uses a numeric system that goes from 1 to 100%. Yes, it's back to school. You can get a score of 53% or 99%, and everything in between. Every single percentage point becomes meaningful, not just because of personal pride, but also because scores are shared with all peers. The Doing What Matters system grabs people at an emotional level, lets them know exactly where they stand, and gives them a desire to excel and change, now. Let's look at some transformations of the old-school approach. Breaking down barriers and getting people from different units and divisions to communicate with one another is usually an elusive quest. The Doing What Matters unique approach has people lining up to share plans and exchange information. Many hard-working, well-intentioned managers slide into cycles of dismal underperformance. Doing What Matters can help people and companies avoid entry into or facilitate quick escape from the circle of doom. Formulas abound for choosing good people. The Doing What Matters practices not only gave my companies great bench strength, they also groomed CEOs and senior leaders for several other Fortune companies. Many experts focus on the importance of your first 100 days in a new position. In Doing What Matters, we'll tell you how you can use day 1, the first day on the job, to set the stage for your future success. Strategic plans take great effort and resources to prepare, but often wind up gathering dust. The AA version in Doing What Matters guarantees action and accountability and makes your strategic plan an essential, everyday guide to business. Doing What Matters is not just techniques, but
Sample complete. Ready to continue?